Well, here we are again. Managed to get off work early. Was going to try and get the computer tuned and possibly try and get the exhaust done. But as you can see, it's freaking raining again. Pouring down rain. I just can't catch a freaking break. But it'll eventually stop. I'll be able to work on the car again. But whatever. What is up, YouTube fam? So today is the video that I'm sure a lot of you guys have been waiting for. This is going to be the video where I do first start, first drive, and all that. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to do the exhaust modifications that are required to get the rest of the exhaust hooked up. I'm going to do the saving the original software out of the ECM and then loading the new software into the ECM, and then finalization of the fuel line that I was in the process of running in the last video. I'm also going to hook up my cooling fans, and I did receive some feedback from a fellow YouTube viewer, and he informed me that the cooling fan relay on the B6 is actually a PWM, and I won't be able to duplicate those signals with what I have. So I believe I've actually come up with a way to make the fan trigger with the air conditioning being turned on. And I've also figured out a way to get my fans working without too much modification. It's the same way that I did it the last time, but I've actually figured out an accessory that I can run to it to make the cooling fan run when the air conditioning is turned on. So I'll go into detail in that when I get to that point. But right now I'm working on the exhaust. When I get the exhaust done, I'll go into the fuel line. When I get done with the fuel line, then we'll do the hooking up the battery and burning the software onto the ECM. So really hope you enjoy this video. I'm super excited to get to the end of this video. Okay guys, so I want to show you, I'm starting to fit the exhaust, and this piece right here on the cross member for the transmission must be cut off. I totally forgot about cutting it off when I had the transmission cross member out. But if you don't cut that out, the exhaust won't freaking clear. So what you need to do is just cut straight across. Let me back up the camera a little bit. You need to cut straight across right here and cut that ear completely off because it's hitting right there. But once you do that, then you'll be able to pull the exhaust over straight, because right now the exhaust is not lined up in the center with the remaining rear section. So I'm going to get that tab cut off. I'll show you after I get it cut off, and then I'll show you how I get the exhaust lined up. But that's something that absolutely has to be removed if you're using the factory downpipes. Now, if you're using aftermarket downpipes, I don't think you'll need it to be removed, because then your catalytic converter won't be there. But I'm still trying to keep all the emissions intact on this thing, at least for the time being. Okay, so now you can see I cut that bracket off, and it gives you a whole lot more room for the exhaust. So now my exhaust can actually center up. And sorry about this, I don't have a whole lot of room under the car. But now my exhaust will actually center up with the back of the exhaust. I can get the rest of it run. So I'll give you an update after I get the rest of the exhaust plumbed up. All right, guys, so just got done cutting that section of pipe out of the factory exhaust for the A4. Had to use a Sawzall, had to use a 90 angle grinder. It was not fun. I got metal shavings all over me. I'm not used to doing this without a shop and a lift. So doing this out here in the yard is killing me. But this is my final product. I don't have the extra clamps yet, so I've just got the oversized ones for the A4 sitting on here. But all I did was basically cut out the A4's crossover pipe and put in the 2.7's X pipe. And it works out pretty good. So like I say, I'll have to replace these two clamps right here. I'll have to replace that clamp and that clamp. That's why there's no bolts in them. They're way too big. So, but you get the general idea of how the exhaust is gonna run. So everything's stock. It's all factory Audi parts. all I had to do is just cut it a little bit, and I will have to get 2 different clamps because I got to get them off the A6, but that's just because it's a different size. But the piping is the exact same diameter, so as long as you have 4 of these clamps that are the original clamps for the downpipes, then you'll be able to modify the exhaust to fit perfect. It's pretty straightforward. It worked out really freaking good for me every other time that I've done it, and this is very similar to how I've done it every other time. All right, guys, so I just got done running the fuel line, getting it to feed through up there on top of the gas tank. I did have to bend it a little funky because of how long it is. I really don't want to cut it. I almost freaking kinked it when I was bending it too, right here, but thankfully it didn't kink. But that's basically how it's going to run. I don't have any interference anywhere, and it's running straight up to the top of the fuel pump. So let me stand up and show you how I've got it going in here. Now, I have not hooked it up to the line yet, but basically it's going to run around and hook in right there. So when I get it all the way hooked up, I'll show you how it is final. So what I did is I cut this end off of there. So all I did was took a razor blade and ran it right down through there and split it open. You just got to make sure you don't cut too deep or you'll gouge this. All right, guys, so there's my hose finished, hooked up. Now all I got to do is put the cover back on it and put my seat back in, and I'll be good to go. All right, guys, so now I've got all the splash pans back installed. You can't see any of the fuel line that I added. The exhaust is all hung up. So really the only thing left to do is hook the battery up and save the data out of the ECU, and then load the data and load the new flash for the M-tune into the ECU. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do next. What's up, guys? So I tried to start doing the software tune on the Audi last night, and the computer, or the ECU, is in it's locked by the immobilizer. So I'm gonna have to make a bench boot cable so that I can get the ECU in boot mode. I'll go over how I'm making the bench test cable and how to get it in boot mode and how to force the ECU rewrite. But I'm gonna log on to the computer while it's still in the car and show you what is happening with the software to indicate that it's locked by the immobilizer. And then I'll show you how to make the connector, how to get it in boot mode, how to force the ROM right, and then throw it back in the car and start it up. So hopefully we'll have it running today. Well, guys, this is the struggles of trying to build your own car. Apparently I have a leak somewhere. Started putting the antifreeze in it. I haven't even run it yet, but I was putting the antifreeze in it, topping the fluids off, and damn thing's pouring antifreeze. So I got to figure out where the hell it's leaking from. What's up, everybody? So I was going to try and finish the Audi today, but I just realized that there is a tropical depression that's getting ready to come across Atlanta, and it's supposed to be 100% chance of rain all day today and all day tomorrow. It's already started raining, and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a whole lot of work done to this thing. So what I'm probably going to do is go ahead and edit the video stuff that I've got now for the first start, and doing the exhaust and all that stuff. I may still try and do the cruise control wiring sitting in the car while it's raining, but if it's really pouring down rain, I don't know that I'm going to do that. But we'll see how it progresses, and hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit more done. All right, guys, so if you're not really good at wiring diagrams, this is probably going to be as clear as mud to you. But this is the diagram that I've come up with for running my cooling fans on the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the original temperature sensor from the lower coolant hose off of the A6. I'm going to ground the 2 brown wires off of it, and then it has 2 other wires coming off of it. At this time, I don't know what colors they are. I'll get all those details later. But One of them is for the low temperature setting, and one of them is for the higher temperature setting. So the lower temperature setting is going to run up and actually power the coil for the main relay for the main fan. So your main fan, you're going to have your power wire coming off the main fan, running into the normally open contact on the relay, and then you'll have battery power running into the coil side of the relay and into the common side of the relay, and then the other side of your coil will be coming from the low temperature wire on the fan switch. Now the second fan is what makes it complicated, because I want this fan to run when the AC is turned on, and I also want it to run when the temperature exceeds the low temperature setting on here. So what I've done is I'll have the high temperature setting running into this relay and providing ground to turn this relay on. So that relay will be powered by direct battery power, same power that's running the fans and the relays. So that will provide the input power circuit. This will provide the ground to activate the coil. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be switching the ground on the AC fan with these two separate relays. So when the temperature exceeds the setting for the low temperature and it turns on the high temperature or closes that switch, it will actually activate this ground to turn this relay on, which will activate the fan. At the same point, I want this fan to turn on whenever the air conditioning is turned on. So currently there's a wire, a main power wire from the AC controls that runs to the AC compressor that will actually turn the compressor on. The other side of that electrical connection is run to ground. I'm going to bridge into that power wire that's turning the compressor on, and I'm actually going to have that, and I've got this drawn incorrect, I believe. Yes, I'm sorry. This was actually supposed to go up here. So that is incorrect. Let me fix that while we're looking at this video. So that connection is going to go from here, and I'll make a circle there. I hate that I'm doing it right over top of my words, but it'll work. I don't know why my pen doesn't want to work. So that is actually how it works. That is not correct. So the power wire for the AC compressor is going to actually power the coil on here. So this coil is going to have ground hooked up all the time, and the power wire is going to switch on to make this coil active. So the power wire of the compressor is going to make this relay turn on, which is going to provide ground to this relay to turn the fan on. Okay, in the same aspect, when the fan temperature or when the coolant temperature exceeds the low setting and hits the high temperature, this one, the ground is what's going to be switched to turn this relay on. The power will be constant. And then that will provide ground for the same relay, which will provide the power to the fan. So this is the way that I'm going to wire my fans up. I'm going to actually purchase two relays that I found at Summit Racing Equipment. Luckily, Summit Racing Equipment is only about 15 minutes away from here, so I can go to the store and actually pick them up. And then these two right here, because they're just switching the ground for the relay, they're not actually switching any kind of heavy current for the fans. These two are just switching for this one relay. That's why I'm not going with a real heavy-duty relay for those two. So I'm going to go with a big 60-amp relay for each of the fans. I may even go bigger. I got to actually see what the amp rating on both of these fans is and get a relay according to what the amp draw is. But I'm estimating that it should be around 60 amps for each one. And then I'm going to be able to use low amperage relays here because, like I said, all they are doing is switching the ground for this relay. So if you have any questions or any concerns about how to do your fans in this manner, I'm not going to make other people custom fan drawings, but if you have any questions concerning this actual fan drawing or how I've got it hooked up, if it's not really crystal clear to you, just hit me in the comments and I will do my best to answer your question. All right, everybody, so I'm getting ready to do the cruise control wiring, and there is a way that I could wire it, which would only require 2 push buttons. I could straight wire it to where cruise control is on all the time. I really don't want to do that in case I ever need to turn the cruise control off. Typically, I'll drive around with the switch in the on position anyway, and all I got to do is hit the button to set it. So I may actually hide the on-off switch, but I still want the ability to turn it on and off, so that if I ever get into a situation like in an emergency where if I hit the brakes and it doesn't disengage, or I hit the clutch pedal and it doesn't disengage, I can flip the switch and kill the power to it. Other than that, if I wasn't worried about that, I could just wire it straight to it to where it's always engaged. And then I would just have a button for set and a button for accelerate resume. So what I went and did was I have the accelerate and resume buttons that I'm going to use, just regular black momentary buttons, and all it does is when you push it in, it makes contact. When you let go, it doesn't. And that's the way that the buttons on the original cruise control stalk work. Now, the other way that the cruise control stalk works is it's basically a double pole single throw switch. So it has 2 separate wires being turned on at the same time. So what I did for my emergency switch, which this will be hidden, it'll probably be mounted underneath the dash or on the inside edge of the center console. I don't want it sticking out because it's an ugly switch. But it's the only switch that I could find that was a double pole single throw. So what that means is it has 4 terminals. 2 of them connect to each other, and the other ones connect to each other, but only when the switch is turned on. All 4 of them are independent until the switch is active, and then you have 2 pairs that turn on. So what I'll do is I will jumper 1 wire across both terminals on one side, and then the other side will be the 2 wires that I'm trying to turn on at the same time but cannot be connected any other time. So I'll give a better description of the wiring that's required for this and how you can do it without having this switch if you don't want it. But I really think this is necessary for a safety feature, and that's why it was included on the original cruise control stalk, is it's a safety feature. In case anything happens, you can just turn the cruise control off and it'll disable it. So I still want the ability to be able to switch it on and off, but really the only buttons that I need exposed are the set and resume buttons. And like I say, I have both of those. They are identical. I'm just going to mount those next to the shifter in the center console, and I'll mount the on-off switch somewhere hidden but still easily accessible in case of an emergency. Alright guys, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount these switches into my center console shifter bezel. So what I've decided to do, I'm going to show you how I'm doing this. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to drill through that hole right there and that hole right there. I'm going to put a switch on each side of the console. Now, I don't know which one I'm going to do for which side. I think I might do resume on the side closest to the driver and set on the side closest to the passenger. But I may wind up switching that if I don't like how it's set up. But what I need to do is I need to drill back. I'm going to get a drill bit that's smaller than the diameter of this little metal ring that's inside of here. So you can see that little metal ring in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill from this side out so that I can mark the front of it. And I'm going to go real easy through here so that I don't crack it too bad, because I'm worried that I'm going to destroy this wood grain. Now, I'm eventually going to replace this bezel with either a carbon fiber or the slate gray like what was in my old Audi that I built. And I'll show you a picture in this video of my last Audi that I built or a small video of my last Audi that I built. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to change this bezel anyway, so if I mess it up, I'm not really out anything, but I prefer not to mess it up. So that's what I'm going to try and do, is I'm going to try and drill in from the back to get my pilot hole, then I'll drill from the front and get it to the size for the switch, then I'll mount the switch, screw it in, and test fit it in the car. So hopefully everything goes smooth here. All right, I'm only going to do one side and get the switch fully fit to see if it's even going to be in the right spot, because I may be too far over. I may wind up hitting into the trim. I don't know, so I want to go ahead and get one completely mounted and see how it looks after that. I don't remember what size the hole has to be, so I got to look at this. And it does not say what the freaking diameter is. Go figure. Cheap switches. Can't even list the freaking diameter of the mounting hole. Maybe this more expensive switch does, because it's the same diameter. It doesn't list the dang diameter either. What a freaking joke. Alright, well, I guess what I will do, because I don't have a set of calipers or a micrometer or a tape measure or anything handy to see what size this is. So I'm just going to fit it to my drill bits. So it looks like I got to do either a 1/2 inch or a 3/8 hole. We'll see if a 3/8 will fit, and if it won't go with the 3/8, then I'll upsize it to a 1/2 inch. So, let's see if that fits. It does not. So I am going to have to do a 1/2 inch diameter hole. I was hoping I'd be able to do a little bit smaller hole, because it looks like it's going to hit the bezel now. So I may need to move it over a little bit, but that's why we do it on the test piece and not the final product, because like I said, I'm changing this trim out anyway, so if I screw this up, it's not a huge loss. But I'm going to try and pull it a little bit away from the side that it's on right now. Try and move it away from the chrome trim that goes around the shifter, because it is going to be a pretty tight fit if I leave it where it is. So boy, it didn't like that one. Alright, got to be more careful with that. But let's see if this fits. I'm going to be really disappointed if it doesn't, but oh well, it is what it is. Alright, I cannot use the spacer that came with it, so I have to screw which isn't going to be a big deal. It would if it was directional, but it's not really directional, so I'm not super worried about that. Okay, so I think I need to cut the back of this out a little bit to get it to where it'll sit in there a little bit flatter. And I also have a chip sitting down in between the plastic right now, and it's spreading it apart. So I'm going to try and fix that. Alright, so that got fixed. But now I still think I need to cut the plastic in a little rectangle for the switch to fit a little bit more in, because right now you can see I don't have very many threads sticking out. So I'd like to have a little bit more depth on there, just so that I can get the nut screw on there a little bit tighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the plastic out of the back of this and try and get it to sit a little bit more flush. Alright, let's see. I don't want to cut myself, so I need to move this. So we're gonna do this over here so I don't cut myself. Because doing it on my leg kind of scares me. So oh yeah. Fresh razor blade makes a difference. All right, everybody. So I wound up getting it cut out to where it fits in there. It holds the switch from rotating, and it gives me a little bit more depth for the nut to fit on there. So yeah, doesn't look too bad. I think it looks all right. Gonna work just like it should. Shifter won't get in the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. So let's see if we can get this other side done real quick. I like that. That's pretty freaking cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to move it over a little bit away from the center of the shifter housing to get it a little bit more clearance away from the chrome bezel. So use a little bit smaller drill bit and drill over to the side a little bit, and that'll keep my drill bit trying to go in that way instead of trying to pull over to where the aluminum is. At least that's what I hope. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we'll find out. Still pulled it right back into the same damn spot. So, oh well. It still doesn't look bad, so I'm not super worried about it. But I am still going to try and continue to work it over away from the center. Hopefully I'll be able to pull it over a little bit, even if it's just a 1/16 of an inch. If I can get it to move over just a little bit, it'll be better than where it is now. Alright, so I think I actually was able to get it to move over a little bit. Not a whole lot, but maybe enough to make it where it's not going to look hideous. Alright, looks pretty good. Looks about the same as the other one. So now I should be able to just cut out the back of it, mount my switch, and then I'll pick up when I've got this sitting back in the car so you can see what the final product looks like. Alright guys, so here's my final product. Got one button here, one button here. I've not mounted the on-off switch, but I think I'm going to mount it up here on the side of the center console. And I apologize for how dark it is. It's pretty late at night and it's still raining. But like I say, I've got both switches mounted. They actually turned out pretty good. I think I'm going to be pretty happy with how that works. So, yeah. I think that's going to be pretty freaking cool. All right. What's up, YouTube? So, even though the car's leaking, I'm going to go ahead and crank it over, make sure the thing starts up. I finally got the ECU squared away, so let's see the first start. Fires up like a damn champ. And that's without the exhaust completely clamped up. I still have to get my other two clamps, and it'll be a little bit quieter. But once I get the coolant leak fixed, she'll be ready to freaking drive. I found that the coolant leak that I showed previously in this video is actually coming from the thermostat housing, and it's plastic located behind the timing cover. So I'm probably going to have to pull a pretty good bit of the front of the motor apart to see what's going on with that timing cover, or with the thermostat cover. So it's still probably going to be a week or so before I can fix the coolant leak, just because of my work schedule and with the weather being the way that it is and me not having a shop. I'm pretty limited on the time that I can spend working on the vehicle. So hopefully I'll have it first drive and have the coolant leak fixed for the next video installment. But I'm going to try and include as much information in this video as I can. What I'll probably do for the next video is show what was causing the coolant leak. I'll show first drive, and I'm going to do a full breakdown of the total cost of building this car, purchasing the A6, purchasing all the parts that I need, the amount of labor that hours that it took for me to do the job, so that you can get a full cost analysis of what it takes to build one of these cars from scratch. This car I actually wound up building for about half of what I built my last one. So I'll get into greater detail in the next video on the cost of doing the swap and building the car. But unfortunately, because of the weather, this is going to slow me down a little bit. So I hope y'all can bear with me and wait for the next video to be dropped in the series. And hopefully we'll be able to have first drive, cost breakdown, and the coolant leak repair. So hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that your friends get to see the stuff that I'm presenting, and hopefully we can turn this into something big. Anyway, have a great day. Hope to see you in the next video.